What do you call it when your star player is mentally packing his bags months before he even tells you he's leaving? Welcome to the brutal reality of modern professional sports, where loyalty has become as outdated as wooden hockey sticks, and players are shopping for new lives while still cashing paychecks from their current teams. The Mitch Marner saga isn't just another free agency story. It's a masterclass in how relationships, ambition, and the pursuit of happiness can tear apart everything fans hold sacred about their favorite teams. The hockey world is still reeling from revelations that have left Toronto Maple Leafs supporters feeling betrayed, manipulated, and questioning everything they thought they knew about player loyalty. This isn't your typical star player leaves for greener pastures narrative. This is the story of secret conversations, emotional checkout dates that preceded actual departure dates, and the painful realization that while fans were cheering for Marner in blue and white, his heart and mind were already somewhere else entirely. The February betrayal. When dreams were already dead, let's start with the gut punch that has Maple Leafs Nation seeing red. Mitch Marner was reportedly having conversations about leaving Toronto as early as February during the Four Nations Face-Off tournament. February. While Leafs fans were still harboring hopes of a deep playoff run, their homegrown superstar was already mentally shopping for desert real estate and planning his escape route. This timeline is devastating for multiple reasons. February means Marner was exploring his options during the most crucial stretch of the regular season, when every game mattered and team chemistry was supposed to be at its peak. It means he was having private discussions about his future while publicly maintaining the facade of commitment to his current team. The emotional betrayal runs deeper than just timing. These weren't casual conversations about hypothetical scenarios. These were detailed discussions about lifestyle, market pressures, and quality of life comparisons between Toronto and Vegas. Marner wasn't just keeping his options open, he was actively researching his exit strategy while still wearing the maple leaf on his chest. The Reeves connection, friendship or recruitment. At the center of this controversy sits Ryan Reeves, the former Maple Leafs enforcer who has become an unlikely central figure in one of the most significant departures in franchise history. Reeves, who spent time with both Toronto and Vegas, found himself in the unique position of being Marner's confidant and inadvertent recruiting officer for the Golden Knights. When the backlash erupted, Reeves defended his role on the Leafs Morning Take podcast, painting his advice as innocent friendship rather than deliberate recruitment. He emphasized that his bond with Marner transcended team loyalties and that withholding honest opinions would have been dishonest to someone he considers a close friend. But here's where this gets complicated. Reeves' description of the two cities reads like a travel brochure comparison designed to make Vegas irresistible. He contrasted Toronto's intense hockey market, where fans can turn on the team quickly, with Vegas' more relaxed and enjoyable environment, with less pressure from fans and media. These aren't neutral observations. They're value judgments that clearly favor one destination over another. Reeves appeared on the Cam and Strick podcast just before his trade to San Jose, where he expressed genuine surprise at Toronto's market intensity. His comments revealed a player who never fully adapted to the pressure cooker that is Toronto hockey, and who found refuge in Vegas' more forgiving sports landscape. The cultural divide, pressure versus paradise, what emerges from this situation is a stark illustration of the cultural divide between traditional hockey markets and newer expansion territories. Toronto represents the old-school hockey experience. Passionate fans, intense media scrutiny, and expectations that can crush players who don't deliver. Vegas represents the new NHL reality, entertainment-focused markets where hockey competes with countless other distractions, creating a more relaxed atmosphere for players. For Marner, this choice represented more than just hockey considerations. It was about lifestyle, mental health, and the kind of environment where he felt he could thrive both personally and professionally. The pressure in Toronto had become suffocating, with every mistake magnified and every playoff failure dissected endlessly by media and fans. Vegas offered something Toronto couldn't: anonymity when desired, pressure relief, and the chance to be a star player without carrying the weight of an entire nation's hockey dreams. In Las Vegas, Marner could be great without being a savior, talented without being messianic. The sign-and trade, business disguised as loyalty, the mechanics of Marner's departure tell their own story about modern NHL economics and relationship management. The sign-and trade deal that sent him to Vegas in exchange for forward Nicholas Roy wasn't just a transaction. It was a carefully orchestrated divorce designed to minimize public relations damage for both sides. Marner's 8-year, $96 million contract with Vegas represents financial security that would have been difficult to match in Toronto's salary cap situation. But more importantly, it represents freedom from the expectations and pressures that had defined his entire professional career up to that point. The trade allowed Toronto to receive something in return rather than losing Marner for nothing in free agency, while giving Marner the destination he clearly preferred. It was a business solution to what had become an emotional problem, but it couldn't erase the feeling among fans that they had been deceived about Marner's true intentions. The legacy question, homegrown star or opportunistic defector, Marner's departure carries extra sting because of his status as a homegrown talent. Drafted by Toronto and developed through their system, he represented everything fans love about building from within. His 741 points in 9 seasons rank him 5th in franchise history, cementing his place in Maple Leafs lore regardless of how his story ended. But legacy is about more than statistics, and Marner's exit strategy has complicated how his Toronto chapter will be remembered. Was he a loyal soldier who gave his best years to the organization before making a difficult personal decision? Or was he an opportunistic star who used his hometown team as a launching pad for bigger and better things? The timing of his private conversations suggests the latter interpretation might be closer to the truth. Players who are genuinely conflicted about leaving don't typically start exploring options months before their contracts expire. They don't have detailed lifestyle discussions with players from other teams while still actively competing for their current organization. The broader implications. Trust in professional sports. This situation exposes uncomfortable truths about the modern athlete-fan relationship that extend far beyond hockey. In an era where player empowerment has reached unprecedented levels, traditional concepts of loyalty and commitment have become increasingly outdated. Fans invest emotionally in players who view their careers through a purely professional lens. While supporters are dreaming of championships and building lifelong attachments, players are calculating market values, lifestyle preferences, and career optimization strategies. It's not necessarily wrong, but it creates an inherent disconnect that situations like Marner's bring into sharp focus. The Marner saga also highlights how player relationships transcend team boundaries in ways that would have been unimaginable in previous eras. Social media, national team competitions, and the interconnected nature of professional sports have created networks that operate independently of franchise loyalties. The human element. Understanding without accepting. While it's easy to vilify Marner for his apparent deception, there's a human element to this story that deserves consideration. Playing professional sports in major markets comes with psychological pressures that most people can't comprehend. The constant scrutiny, the weight of expectations, and the inability to fail privately can take tremendous tolls on mental health and personal relationships. Marner's conversations with Reeves and others might have been less about recruitment and more about seeking advice from people who understood his situation. The fact that those conversations led to his departure doesn't necessarily mean they were calculated manipulation. They might have been desperate attempts to find solutions to problems he was struggling to handle. This doesn't excuse the timing or the secrecy, but it provides context for decisions that might otherwise seem purely mercenary. Sometimes the best players make choices that prioritize their personal well-being over fan expectations. And while that's disappointing, it's also understandable. The final verdict, lessons in modern loyalty. The Mitch Marner saga serves as a cautionary tale about the evolution of professional sports loyalty in the 21st century. It demonstrates how quickly relationships can deteriorate when personal desires conflict with organizational expectations, and how difficult it can be to maintain traditional concepts of loyalty in an increasingly transactional sports landscape. For Toronto fans, this represents more than just losing a talented player. It's about having their trust violated by someone they viewed as family. For Marner, it represents the pursuit of happiness and professional fulfillment, even when that pursuit requires difficult and potentially hurtful decisions. The truth probably lies somewhere between these perspectives. Marner wasn't the villain some fans now consider him, but he also wasn't the loyal hometown hero they once believed him to be. He was a professional athlete making calculated decisions about his career and life, even when those decisions came at the expense of the emotional investment others had made in his success. Moving forward, this saga will likely influence how both fans and organizations approach player relationships, contract negotiations, and the delicate balance between personal loyalty and professional ambition that defines modern sports. This story reveals so much about loyalty, friendship, and the business of sports. What's your take on Marner's departure? Was he justified in seeking advice from Vegas players, or did he cross a line by having those conversations while still under contract in Toronto? I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments below, and if this deep dive into hockey's most controversial departure got you thinking, make sure to hit that like button